Are you ready? High voltage is upon us. Join our hosts, Chris and Sean, while they turn up the voltage.
Welcome back to Dadnarok High Voltage. This is Sean.
And this is Chris. And hey, guys, before we really get into this here, we're talking about the tragedy. Sounds terrible. First of all, thanks for joining us. If you can go ahead and smack that like, that subscribe. We talk about the Mandalorian here every week at 10:30, each night on Friday nights. We also have a few other things we have going on as well. So you don't miss any of that, that fun or anything. Please, check on that for us. But let's roll into this. What was the tragedy this week, Sean? What we talking about?
The tragedy. I don't know. I saw a triumph. This episode was great. After last episode, that was Ahsoka Tano heavy, and everybody thought, that was the big high point of the season. And they roll out the following week with this bad boy of an episode, and man, oh man, quite enjoyable. I loved it,
dude. I got some real serious Rogue One like feeling from the battles when they were actually on Scarif.
Yeah.
I felt like the world was large. I felt like the battles felt like they should feel when the stormtroopers coming up. And I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but it felt appropriate to what they were looking to do this time. It didn't feel like you were looking at that screen like you were mentioning before in prior reviews.
Yeah, this episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who's I don't know if you guys know cinema and all. He's quite an acclaimed director. He works a lot with Quentin Tarantino. He's kind of out of that Texas wheelhouse of directors. But he got to, chew on some action scenes, with this episode of The Mandalorian. First time working on the show. But yeah, the camera work was able to really pan out, and you see big action shots. You see big, ships and things blowing up in slow motion, and just the action down on the ground too with the stormtroopers and stuff.
You felt the depth, the rocks, the grass in front of it. It felt appropriate. It didn't feel screenshot at all.
No, it didn't feel like they were sitting on a stage like last week.
Yeah, no, not for a little bit.
Was directed by Dave Filoni, so as far as directing live action, Dave Filoni's still kind of a novice, but it was only right to have Dave Filoni direct the episode with Ahsoka Tano. Like, that just makes sense. So you're going to get kind of a bit of inconsistency when it comes to the look and feel of each episode, but I welcome it. It's fun.
I like that. I like having different directors for different episodes.
Yeah,
so you have that feeling. I mean, they're all working on basically the same plane. They're all going in the same direction, but you can feel the difference,
right,
between each director.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got Christopher Pirano, Desperado. Yeah, that's right. Robert Rodriguez directed Desperado. And I think he did the Sin City movies too, if I'm remembering right. But anyway, the episode starts it just hits the ground running. That's been the surprising thing for me this entire season, is that each episode, I think there's going to be some kind of delay. I was thinking, sitting the child on top of the seeing stone would be like maybe the final scene of the final episode. And it just picks up like right here within the first few minutes.
They picked up in last season. I mean, the cold open was, we come to find out Boba Fett walking up to Fennec and saving Fennec. So, I mean, they didn't even spare a stat. Everyone, I know there was like a petition going around to get more of Fennec's character in The Mandalorian, and she kept her mouth tight. I mean, she wouldn't say nothing. Was it what was the actor's name of that? Ming Yan Wang. She was a master of keeping her mouth closed when knowing that there is more coming of her character, and people are chomping at the bit to get more from her.
I'm pretty sure I just mentioned either last week or the week before just how we may never see a resolution on who the heck walked up to her in the Tatooine desert. And I mean, here we go.
Yeah. I mean, right out the gate. I mean, they don't say it's Boba Fett right there, but everyone knows it's Boba Fett because we've seen him already on Tatooine.
Right.
And we know his armor is in the possession of Mando. So it's rolling forward. I mean, it's more and more that if there's been one great thing about the season, is outside of maybe that one episode, and that was that spider episode, the plot has been moving forward at a very high rate recently.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Really, the only filler this season has been that spider egg episode, which was still, fun and enjoyable. Everything else has been Crazy.
Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah. Cheat on the
but
bone.
but I don't know where I seen this or where I read it. I don't know if it was like from Nerdist online or if it was comicbook.com. But they quoted Dave Filoni as saying these last 3 episodes are going to be a roller coaster of emotions.
Oh, boy, so we got more in store, more episodes.
Yeah, the final 3 episodes. This one we just seen, in the next 2 is it's just going to be one of these things.
Oh my gosh!
And you're going to be, if you were devastated by the way this episode ended, you may not recover next episode. It may be the following episode, or vice versa.
Yeah,
So basically, strap in.
Well, good. Just a reminder. I know I read Christopher's comment earlier. We've got Jimmy chiming in here. No more emotion. I guess it was just too much for Jimmy to handle this episode. Roller coaster is going to be breaking him down emotionally. But yeah, we are a live show, so go ahead and comment, whatever format, whatever platform you happen to be watching on, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. We're on Twitch and Twitter as well. Leave a comment. We'll try our best to interact with you instantaneously. But where does the episode kick off here?
I mean, like I said, they've got the cold open where they walk in, we see Finnick, but it's that classic, opening. We're in the ship. There's Mando. There's Grogu. I'm going to force myself to say Grogu every time I talk about him to make it stick in my mind. But he's sitting there and he's like almost like testing him again. He's got the little knob. He tells him to take it.
Yeah,
and he takes it and goes, "Din Fark."
What do you say?
Din Fark or something. Fark. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reaction from Grogu was hilarious. He thought he was in trouble.
Right.
He put his hands down. He kind of hung his head, and he had to remind him, I'm not. I guess it's a term that can be used both in anger and in joy. That's kind of how I'm taking it. And he had him take it from him, and he kind of praised him for it. And then they actually see them flying into Tython. Yeah,
what I got from that scene is that Mando is really coming to the realization that he's just not going to be able to help this kid any further. Like, he's been this kid's guardian and protector, but what the kid's able to do is just way beyond what Mando can help him out with.
He's too strong, too powerful.
Yeah, so I think there was a little bit of frustration, almost like, man, like this kid, because he even tells him, it's like, I'm not mad at you, kid. It's just you're special, and we're gonna get you back to your people. Like, he was kind of digesting it as he was kind of playing with those force powers, the tricks with Grogu.
But you can see he kind of feels like a fatherly figure to Grogu as well.
Yeah.
So he's kind of been the only, outside of him being within the temple, he's been the only person that's been consistent with Grogu.
Yeah. So they land on Tython. They find the Jedi temple, or at least the top of it, the Seeing Stone, fairly quickly. It's too small for him to land the Razor Crest on, and boy, we'll talk about the Razor Crest. But he jetpacks out of there. He sits Grogu on the Seeing Stone for a minute here. It doesn't look like anything's going to happen, and then
with the windows down.
He sets Grogu on the Seeing Stone. He's like, "Okay, kid, do
your thing."
Do, and nothing happens for a minute until Mando sees or hears a ship coming in, and that's the first surprise of the episode. Is Slave One, Boba Fett's ship, flying into the atmosphere.
What was your reaction? Did you get any feelings when you seen that ship?
Immediately, that ship is, because I'm a longtime Star Wars fan. I recognize it from Empire, and that was the ship that was going after the Falcon, and it was like seeing the Falcon for me. It was like, that's original trilogy stuff, and I immediately was like, oh.
I had the same reaction, but I also had questions.
Yeah.
I was like, where has it been? Why has he been stuck on Tatooine?
Yeah.
What was that? Now, I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of rumors that he's going to have his own spinoff on Disney Plus that may answer them. We know Dave Filoni and Disney Plus and Star Wars, they play the long game with us fans. They've got other things that are in production that they're not going to. They got a lot of things that just say Star Wars in production.
Yeah.
But that won't put a name to it, which doesn't help us any. But I've been an outspoken detractor of Boba.
Right.
I'll be flat about it. I felt like this episode was trying to convince me that he was the
badass bounty hunter.
feared bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Yeah. Did this episode move that poll in any direction for you?
I thought he overreached.
Oh, really? They did too much. They were trying too hard.
Yeah, because he's no longer. I mean, he's in his 50s. He's older, and
some people in their 50s are still rocking it, dude.
Dude, his armor barely fit him. He had a dad bod.
Yeah, well, look, Tamir Morrison is an older guy. Like, you gotta, kind of look past that kind of thing. Maybe he ate really well when he was with the Tusken Raiders. I don't know.
His action scenes and all he did was amazing. I enjoyed all of it from him wielding the staff. From I think there wasn't that something from that was a
Tusken Raider.
Tusken Raiders, yeah,
Canfa stick or something. Yeah,
yeah. When he was swinging that around and beating up these stormtroopers, that was great. From smashing the helmets to, I mean, that was something. That was fun to watch.
Yeah,
but I felt like they were overcompensating for the lack of Boba Fett like canon that there's been, and trying to convince people like myself that feel like there's other like bounty hunters that were more worthy of all the fanfare.
I guess that's your like meta hang up, though. I mean, Star Wars was never telling you, hey, this is the best bounty hunter and you don't need to like any other bounty hunter because this is the guy. I think he was the only bounty hunter that was like on screen. I mean, that's the one that they chose because he was like the coolest looking, had the coolest armor. So he was the one to be kind of the main focus point in Empire Strikes Back. He was like a plot device. You know what I mean? I
can give you that. I think it's the fans that built that. That aura around him.
Sure.
And that's what I'm fighting, because my love of Star Wars happened after Disney basically took over. Like, I knew of it, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. But
when I went full force into it is when, they flushed and basically said, okay, this is Legends, this is where canon is. Mm-hmm. And, the story going forward, and everyone, love it or hate it, they got rid of a bunch of stuff, and they're slowly bringing all of it back into canon, sometimes very bluntly, sometimes very like discreetly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can go with it. Well, I'm not going to have any problem with them.
I think the main issue lies in too, and it's an old issue, is that they introduced Boba Fett to be a total badass in Empire Strikes Back, which he was. He was definitely an antagonist and a villain and super capable. And then George Lucas, for whatever reason, thought it would be funny just to dispatch of him by hitting his jetpack and having the Sarlacc eat him up in Return of the Jedi, and that'd be that. Like, George Lucas didn't have some grand plan. I mean, he was working with 2 sets of movies. He'd already done 1 movie. He was working to finish out a trilogy. It wasn't his grand plan to introduce Boba Fett as some long, that would be telling stories about here 30 years later. So because he went out like such a punk in Return of the Jedi, there was that disparity there. There was that discrepancy where it's like, well, how badass is that guy if all he got, he got whacked by a blind Han Solo and died?
Yeah, not even Luke.
It wasn't even Luke. It was, blind Han Solo. So, of course, they have to do some repair work because people have been, talking about Boba Fett and the possible return of how he could survive the Sarlacc pit and what he would do afterwards for years. I mean, people have been talking about that since Return of the Jedi, 1983. So for me to see it in front of my face, it's canon, it's happening, it's being acted by the guy who played Jango Fett in the prequel trilogy. It's the guy who, eventually they overdubbed, Boba Fett in the original trilogy. So I don't know. I loved it. Even if he had a dad bod, I didn't care. He was rocking it.
No, I mean, I'm along for it. I buy it. I mean, I'm on for the ride. I completely see him as Boba Fett. I buy how he was able to survive the Sarlacc, after seeing what, Mando did with the crate dragon.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm on board.
I do have an issue, though.
Okay.
I have an issue with Boba Fett. And this is sort of just like a question, like a plot point, like why it doesn't quite make sense to me. And I'm sure now that we know that Boba Fett is alive and well, we'll get the full backstory for where the heck he's been, what he's been doing. But if he was so close to his armor, if his armor is something that he needs and wants, then Cobb Vanth, I finally remembered his name, not the Marshal, but Cobb Vanth, finally stuck. He had the armor. He was just kind of this goofball marshal in this no-name town. Would have been a heck of a lot easier just to go into that town and take it from him, as opposed to tracking Mandalorian down to this planet to take it from him. He was so close. Like, am I supposed to believe that he didn't know where his armor was that whole time and just happened to come across it right as the Mandalorian was there? Is that what I'm supposed to believe?
No. What I got from that, and I kind of had the same kind of thoughts, but I almost feel like he's come across. We didn't know much about him.
Yeah,
honestly, I mean, he didn't have a whole lot of speaking parts in the original trilogy, but from the interactions we just got with him now, I almost feel like he's come into a more of an honorable type role. Like, he's seen what Cobb Vanth was doing with the armor. He's seen how he was protecting, the people
right
from the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah,
and he was kind of there. So if he came in and he would have had to have killed Cobb Vanth to take the armor from him. There would have been no other way for him to do it.
That's true.
Knowing what Beskar is, he may not have been able. I mean, he would have beaten the snot out of him, or he would have disillusioned the people, and then there may have been more issues.
Yeah, that gets me thinking that maybe you're right. Maybe he was okay with that the armor was being used to protect this small town, and that would be a fitting end. But he didn't know what the heck the Mandalorian would end up doing. I mean, he could melt it down and
sell it back to the Empire or whatever.
Yeah, give it to the foundlings, or make him glow even more with Beskar. Like, give him some, I don't know, some shin pads, or I don't know, boots, Beskar boots. I don't know what
a nice codpiece.
Yeah, maybe that's exactly it. Boba Fett didn't want his dad's armor to be melted down into the Din Djarin's codpiece.
Well, he had to add, Beskar nipples on his breastplate.
Schumacher directs. Oh God, let's move past this. It was just a foible I had.
Oh man, no. But what do you think when we finally sat Grogu down on that sing rock, and he's sitting there do you think? Now, I didn't really look too far into this. Do you think the butterflies that he was playing with have any effect in the main storyline, or there's any connection to that anywhere besides maybe he was starting to channel the Force, kind of like how Ezra did with the with animals he was able to channel with when he was actually directly channeling the Force.
I don't think anything that's shown is a coincidence. I think especially there is a kind of a weird thing with the Force and animals. Like, there's the Lothcats and the wolves and stuff that play part in Rebels. There's the owls that are constantly surrounding Ahsoka Tano, from the that one storyline in the Clone Wars.
From Mortis.
Yeah,
that's the best. If you guys haven't watched Clone Wars, check out the Mortis storyline. That is hands down the best storyline, I think, within Clone Wars, and I think Clone Wars is the best set of stories within Star Wars.
Yeah, deep Force lore in those couple of episodes. I mean, you learn a lot about the Force. But yeah, I don't think it's a mistake or an accident. I think those butterflies are almost like that the Force was there, or present, or the light side kind of thing.
Or he was coming to peace with where he was, and this is what I'm going to do type thing.
Yeah, and actually, when we finally see the Seeing Stone, you see the kind of ancient inscription light up around the circle of it, around the perimeter of the stone. You see the blue light kind of shoot up. It actually reminded me of Jedi Fallen Order, the video game that came out last year with Cal Kestis. And every time that you would save your game, he would kneel down in these little circles and then go into this other plane of existence where you could update your skill tree and save your game and stuff.
Well, dude, there's rumors that Cal may be one of the Jedis that we may see.
Yeah,
because of him reaching out. So we know Cal's out there. We know Ezra's out there. We know
Luke Skywalker.
Luke's out there. I mean, and then there's the kind of loose interpretation of Ahsoka. So we know of really 4 that are out there.
Yeah. It's who knows? I'm excited,
dude. It could go sideways because right now there's also all the
what dark side users or darks I
mean, you have all the what are they called? The ones that had the red lightsabers that were hunting down all the Jedi for Vader.
The Inquisitors.
Thank you. Yes, there's also Inquisitors still out there. So someone may be pulled to the actual this beacon. So we don't know what's gonna draw to this beacon to actually Grogu.
And somebody heard his call. He was sending that signal for too long, and there was just
Mhm.
too much meditation, and that quote unquote force field there's something happening, and he was talking to somebody, and we are going to find out eventually who that somebody is. I hope it is somebody that we know that it's tied into. It's just this is such a weird time period. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay, my audio went dead in my ear for a second. It's such a weird time period because it's post Return of the Jedi, right? And within Return of the Jedi, Yoda is dying, and he tells Luke, he's like, when gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be? And we've always taken that as a gospel, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so at the end of Return of the Jedi, well, the Return of the Jedi was actually Anakin coming back from being a Sith to being a Jedi. That was the Return of the Jedi, but he dies. So we're supposed to believe that it's Luke, and then Luke finds others to build a Jedi Academy going forward and stuff. But I mean, there was Ahsoka Tano, but technically she wasn't a Jedi yet, per her own words, or she wasn't a Jedi anymore, right?
Yeah.
And
And
then
she turned her back. Yeah.
we have Cal Kestis, maybe, but when we play that video game, that's like in between episode 3 and 4. That's like maybe 10 years post Order 66. And like 10 years prior to A New Hope. So who the heck knows if he's still alive or if he survived the original trilogy.
Yeah.
He may not still be out there. We don't know because, we haven't played, Jedi Fallen Order 2.
How would you feel about that, though? How would you feel about Cal Kestis actually becoming a part of the show?
I would be fine with it. I think it's a lot easier to age the actor that plays Cal Kestis because that was all facial mapping. Like that's a real actor who's working today, the guy who plays Cal. So you could easily bring him on, maybe just give him a beard, try to age him up a little bit because this would be, maybe a couple decades after the video game takes place. It's going to be a lot easier to do that as opposed to like de-aging Mark Hamill or hiring some other actor and deep faking Mark Hamill on there, or us to buy another actor playing Luke Skywalker.
That'd be hard. Yeah.
It's going to be a hard pill to swallow if they go that route. So I think the easier answer is Cal Kestis, but it's...
Do you think it could be someone that is not a trained Jedi, but is sensitive in the Force and felt it? And then they feel like they have some type of mission that they've got to hunt this person or hunt this creature down. And now they're tied to Grogu, but they're not a trained Jedi at all.
Could it be an Ezra?
Well, Ezra, I think Ezra eventually they started calling him a Jedi. He was trained through, canon. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think eventually at the end of the actual run of the show, they called him a Jedi.
Right.
So
do you think Ezra's out there? Because everything seems to be leading to Thrawn, right?
Yeah.
So, that would almost make the most sense plot-wise, is that Ezra is the one who kind of answers.
Well, I think what I'm really trying to the bottom level of my question is, you know how like at the end of I think it was The Last Jedi, where the kid was standing on that like planet, the casino planet, and the broom boy. He's not. He's just super sensitive in the Force. It would have to be older or younger. It doesn't have to specifically be him, but I'm just saying someone down that line that feels this, that has the ability to maybe travel.
Well, what you're talking about is bringing in a new character, and
yes,
I don't have a ton of interest in that. Nah. I don't want to see some new. They could, and maybe that character could be interesting, but they're far more interesting. I just feel like it's a more interesting story to go with somebody that we know is out there.
So you're more okay with them like intertwining all the plot points and storylines that we already have, rather than trying to make the show The Mandalorian a standalone show that has connections but lives by itself.
I think that it's still, even if you bring a Cal Kestis and he was in a video game at one point, doesn't mean it turns The Mandalorian into a sequel to, the Fallen Order video game. It's all connected, whether we like it or not. And that's the Clone Wars were like that. They were connected to the movies. The Rebels.
That's just the biggest concern I've heard. I've read a lot. People are worried that we're going to get away from The Mandalorian and it's just going to become a part of the Skywalker saga.
If it becomes that, then you don't call the show The Mandalorian anymore. That doesn't make sense. Rebels was about that team of rebels on the Ghost. That was it.
Yeah.
And the Clone Wars was about the period of, the period of time where all these characters are fighting in the Clone Wars. It made sense. You don't take the show The Mandalorian that we know and love with the child and the Mandalorian, and all of a sudden turn it into the Thrawn Ahsoka show. That's going to be a different show.
Yeah, I'm certain you're right on that.
Yeah, and my question for you, and I guess we'll get there. Actually, let's keep moving through the plot of this episode.
Yeah, we've got a lot. We are. This may be a long one here.
Yeah, a lot happened in this episode. So where do we leave off? So Boba lands.
We've seen Slave One fly in.
Yeah, God, that's still the beginning of the episode.
Holy crap!
So Boba Fett lands. He's like, "Hey, dude, you've got my armor." Of course, Mandalorian's like, "I don't think this is your armor. You're not Mandalorian." You know, that old gag. He's like, "Give me the armor. I got the sharpshooter pointed a gun at the child." And
once again, they're putting Grogu's life in danger. This whole season has been putting Grogu's life in danger.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's tough, and they realize it's Fennec. It's that lady that from season 1. So Mando already knows that she's a quality sharpshooter, and they are telling the truth.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Mando has already tried to penetrate that like force bubble.
He tries 3 times in this episode.
Yeah. Why would he not think, you know what? I can't get through that. Nothing is getting through this. So good luck.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking that myself. Like, you know, you can't seem to walk through this thing. So are you convinced that a blaster bolt could go through this thing? I don't know. The kid seems like he might be all right. Why don't you just play defense?
Yeah.
While he's doing that thing. And that idea does come to him, but not until like towards the end of the episode where he's like,
way late.
I'm going to buy you some time, I guess. I don't have any other choice.
He decides to give up and like, okay, I'm tired.
Yeah. But so they do something in this episode which is fun. They actually get to talk to each other. I was on the fence if they're going to bring Boba Fett in. Is he going to be an antagonist or a protagonist? Is he going to help Mando, or is he going to be Mando's enemy?
Yeah,
and they seem to go.
He went out there and said, like, let's put our weapons down. No blood needs to be shed today.
Yeah,
which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of refreshing. But as soon as they decide to do that, here comes the Empire.
Oh yeah, when that first troop carrier comes in and sits down next to the actual Razor Crest.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, this is going to get interesting.
Who is this? Because basically what we're doing this episode is setting out a beacon for a Force user, some Jedi or Sith. And every time a ship landed, dude, I was like, is this it? Is this the Jedi that's going to take Baby Yoda or Grogu away from us?
Yeah.
And each time it was not.
It all goes back to that tracker that was on the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
The one that was able to track him through hyperspace. I mean, we're connecting, Last Jedi again to the Mandalorian just through that, technology.
So we've got Moff Gideon up in the air. It looked like a tiny,
Star cruiser, light cruiser, I think they called it.
Yeah, which is cool. He's got a cool looking ship. It looks like almost like a dagger, like that you would, just stab somebody with, the shape of it. But yeah, he sends one troop transport down and then another one to follow that. And they have a huge fight where Mando teams up with Fennec, the sharpshooter, and Boba Fett. And Boba Fett's, you kind of mentioned this earlier. He doesn't even need his armor. He's taking down these stormtroopers.
Yeah, he's hiding behind a rock and flipping around and taking them out. With
the blast steel of the stormtrooper helmets just busting.
Oh, when I seen that just explode, I'm like, oh, he just got whooped.
Yeah.
How about that one stormtrooper? They're like, the captain was like, told him like, keep going and move forward. He's he stands up and gets shot.
Telling other troopers to kind of run into their death, and he finally gets his. Yeah, that was funny.
I mean, it was classic. Now, so here's a good question for you. When did stormtroopers start using mortars? Now, it was cool, but I was like, come on. That was my first question.
For them, you think?
What was that?
Was that too advanced for them, you think?
Yeah, these are like bumbling fools with blasters. With a mortar, you're not gonna miss.
Yeah,
you put it in a general area and boom.
I don't know, but they were like formidable enough to be, a fun action scene. But yeah, they're still stormtroopers. They couldn't shoot anything. And there was. Did you catch the Indiana Jones reference when Fennec knocked down that boulder? Yeah,
or it was rolling towards the actual like the cannon almost.
Yeah.
And that was another one of those scenes. Like I was saying, if the battle felt large, you felt the depth of that rock going towards it. You've seen. Everything felt good. That's a short way of saying it.
Yeah. So during this battle, Mando and Fennec, they kind of get surrounded, and then we see Boba Fett come down and once again start kicking ass, and he's got his armor back.
Oh yeah, well we skipped the spot where after he took out those stormtroopers, he looks at the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
And he goes in. They don't show him going in there, but he goes in there and gets his armor. And the next thing you know, he lands behind everybody. And then he just goes full berserker mode.
It was so great, man.
And that's where I thought they went a little over. I mean, yeah, it was cool. Cinematically, it was awesome. I just felt like they were just they were pushing it further for people like me.
You think Boba Fett would be able to take out a bunch of stormtroopers by himself?
Not more than Mando or Finnick. I mean, he was taking more out than the two of them combined.
I think Mando was doing a good job. I think Boba Fett's got more a bag of tricks up his armor than Mando. Mando has the whistling tips or whatever, right?
Yeah, the whistling birds. Yeah,
his forearm gadget, and he had his long disintegrator gun, which I don't think he has anymore. I think that was on the Razor Crest. And he's got his jetpack, but other than that, he's got his Beskar armor that kind of, he gets shot up all the time, and like the Terminator, it just kind of bounces off him. But other than that, Boba Fett's scrappier, and he's always been scrappier. Like he's been a survivor. He's always had targets on him. So he's had to have more tricks up his sleeve. And we see a brand new one where he steps down and you get almost like a shotgun blast come out of his knee pads.
Yeah. Okay. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But then, the shot that he fired his missile and hit the one carrier. I mean, you see after the knee shot, all the other troopers were like, oh, they run. They go back to the actual carriers, and then he takes out, one of them. And look, they try to sell it as like he missed. He was trying to take out both with one missile. Let's be real.
Yeah, I thought that was funny because it's it's very impressive because he took out, two birds with one stone kind of deal. And then Mando says, nice shot. And he says, I was aiming for the other one. I thought it was kind of funny, but so they get through it, and at this point, Moff Gideon, he's kind of had enough. I
love the aura.
Yeah,
that Giancarlo Stanton. Jesus, that's a
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, I channel baseball for a second.
I know you always do that.
Just the aura he had in that black get up. He has his uniform. Yeah. He just feels like it's someone you should fear in a galaxy, and we don't really know why. I mean, he has like that. They feared Tarkin, but he was just political,
right?
And I think Moff Gideon, there's something more to fear about him, and we haven't tapped into fully what his character is yet.
Yeah, Moff Gideon, he's a little different. He comes out a little different, where he actually seems like he's enjoying this. This is like fun for him. Like he almost, he asked about the Dark Troopers, and he gives a little smile, like oh good, like he could almost envision him like eating popcorn. Like
I smiled when he asked about the Dark Troopers.
Yeah,
I smiled. I'm like, oh, we're gonna see these bad boys in action.
Yeah,
and then four of them are flying out of the ship, going towards the temple, and then they flip over and use their boosters to land. I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Straight up Iron Man, Jon Favreau was pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't even that didn't even dawn on me.
Yeah.
I don't know why that didn't dawn on me, but yeah, I can see the connection.
But four of them, he sends four, they come out of the Moff Gideon ship, they go down to the Seeing Stone, four of them land. Mando, he realizes what's happening, so he books it up this mountain to try to get Grogu, but it's too late. I mean, they kind of grab Grogu pretty easily. Grogu is groggy. He's tired. Yeah. From the effort that it took to kind of send that beacon out into the galaxy. So they just grab him, take him up to the ship. Boba Fett hops in the Slave One. But we just missed the part where the Razor Crest is blown the heck up, dude.
Oh, dude. What is it? Where? Huh? I mean, I looked at it, I was like, that was my holy crap moment.
And that was for me too. Out of an entire episode, seeing Slave One, seeing Boba Fett back in his armor, seeing Grogu actually send this light up in the air, seeing Grogu snatched. All of it was kind of shocking and jaw dropping. But the moment the Razor Crest blows up, that was the moment for me where I was like, oh my God.
No, that makes me even more want to go out and get these the Razor Crest Lego set now.
I was wondering if you'd be like, well, man, now I don't want it because
I want it even more now.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing where he went when it went boom, and yeah.
Sure, take care of that.
Guys, go. I'm live. Go.
Just bring them in. Ask them what they felt about this episode.
Say hi, everybody. Say hi. Just say hi. Wave. Hey guys, this is Skylar, and this is my half-naked child, Zach.
I got no shirt.
Okay,
No
guys.
shirt.
I don't know.
Okay. Friday.
Okay, go.
I got shirt.
Go. You got shirt. Yes. Go. You're very welcome, guys.
It was bound to happen.
Shut the door, guys, please. That was all my fault. I did not lock the door. That is a faux pas from Daddy.
6 episodes into our Mandalorian live show, and it finally happened.
It finally happened.
Can't edit it out, all live.
My little gremlins have struck. Oh man, where were we at, dude? I am so off.
Razor Crest blew up. So I was going to ask you. So you feel like you're still going to get the Lego set. What does this mean for the show, though? Because the show up to this point, these 2 seasons have been Mandalorian and Baby Yoda riding along in the road. Well, we've only recently known he's Grogu. But like the show up to this point have been these 2 characters going from planet to planet, adventure to adventure in the Razor Crest. This changes the dynamic of the show indefinitely.
He winds up back on Tatooine. So he's got to get another ship. Somehow, Cardoon or Grief Cargo or somebody has got to get him another ship that he can use. I mean, or here's a curveball for you. Because at the end of this episode, since they gave Boba his armor and Baby Yoda or Grogu, it was not safe. Both Fennec and Boba are in his debt. Will they be a part of the crew now? So will it be those 3 for the remaining 2 episodes?
For the remaining 2 episodes, I think so. I mean, Mando's just going to hitch a ride on Slave One, and they're whatever ragtag bunch of folks that he gets for the next 2 episodes to help him get Baby Yoda back, if he does, is going to be riding around the Slave One most likely. But I'm just wondering what it means for the rest of the show. They really can't reset, and go back to.
I think it's gone.
Yeah. I think we're progressing past to a point where season 1 and season 2 are. It's going to be unfamiliar. Season 3 is going to be unfamiliar. It's not going to have the same formula. Maybe Grogu and Mando are back together in some form or fashion, but there's going to be a different feel entirely.
I think it's neat. This whole episode, to me, it felt like it was necessary to push the story forward.
Yeah.
Like Grogu had to happen to him. We had to see more from Moff Gideon because we haven't seen much of him at all. They can only keep those dark troopers in the dark for so long before people are going to be chiming. Want them. I wanted them. Yeah. As soon as I heard dark troopers when it came out of his mouth, I got giddy. The dark saber they show in the episode. I'm like, they gave us all this plot point stuff in this and I think it's one of the shortest episodes of the season. It was only 33 minutes.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was like a dense piece of bread. Someone baked bread. It was just like
brick, that bread.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with Grogu is gone. He's taken off onto the Moff Gideon ship. They get the heck out of there, out of planet. And we've got Mandalorian just rummaging through the wreckage, the ashes of the Razor Crest. He just happens to find the the top of that lever there, the little ball that he'd been using with Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how the heck that survived unless it's Beskar itself. And he finds the Beskar staff, which survived pretty much unscathed because it's Beskar. And that's it. No more Razor Crest. So he basically tells both Boba Fett and Fennec that, hey, we're good, whatever. And they're like, no, we're going to stick with you. We promised you to get this kid. So, we're in debt to you.
Well, he was like, the kid's gone.
Yeah, he was kind of resigned to it, which is sad. We don't see Din Djarin get emotional. But I mean, the fact that he's so down in the dumps that he's almost unwilling to go after the kid, I don't know. He's in a sad spot. But we do see him, once he realizes, I think, that he's got Boba Fett and Fennec at his side, that maybe he has a fighting chance to get the kid back from the Empire. So he heads back to the planet that Grief Karga resides on, and Cara Dune, Navarro. Yeah, Navarro.
Oh, I said Tatooine earlier. I'm sorry. Yeah, Navarro.
Yeah, Navarro, where she's, I guess she accepted a role with the Republic. We were kind of teased with that a couple episodes ago, and she's accepted.
New Republic Marshal.
Yeah, New Republic Marshal. So he asked her a favor. He's like, hey, look up one of these guys to help me. So I don't know why, but they seem to be bringing Bill Burr's character back. I guess another assistance. I don't know. You need some fodder, I guess, in the last couple episodes. But he's gonna break him, and I would think that maybe Cara Dune will be with them too, because the look that she gives him when she realizes that the kid has been taken, she kind of leans forward and she looks like she's ready for action.
Yeah, that guy's name was Miggs Mayfield.
Yeah, Miggs Mayfield.
They were looking for.
Yeah,
and man, he's doing some hard time. 50 years on Crathon in the chops fields. I mean, I don't know what that is, but that sounds rough.
Or I don't know what makes Mando think that his character is gonna go along with any of this. Besides, just, hey, thanks for springing me. He would probably want to jump.
I think about the last time they had any type of interaction.
Yeah,
he left him in a cell.
It was kind of a curveball, honestly, but we'll see. The fact that Filoni has said that these last 3 episodes, we got 2 more of these 3, is a roller coaster. That's the way the season's been going. I can't speculate. I have no idea what's going to happen, because I thought we wouldn't see Ahsoka Tano until the end of the season. I thought that the child wouldn't be sitting on the Seeing Stone until the end of the season. Everything that I thought was going to happen along the way of the season has already happened. I thought, in all actuality, I thought this kind of tragedy, right? This Empire Strikes Back ending where the bad guys win would be at the end of the season, but we still got 2 episodes left.
2 more full episodes to go in this. Yeah, I know it's interesting. I mean, while we were talking here, I had an interesting thing come across my brain.
Okay,
we see Grogu up on Gideon's ship. Mm-hmm. He's in the cell, beating the living snot out of these 2 stormtroopers,
force choking them and smashing them together like a couple of toys.
You said something very key. You said force choking.
Yeah.
That's not Jedi way.
No.
And Ahsoka said she senses a lot of fear in him.
Yeah.
If he's tapping into what would be the dark side, I mean, could we see, we as viewers, and I know Jimmy doesn't want to see this, but could we see a dark side user take him on kind of as an apprentice, and we have a new big baddie to some?
Maybe.
I know it's a stretch. It's just something that kind of hit me, because the words of what Ahsoka were.
Right. Yeah, it's possible. It's tough because I don't know how much of a baby Yoda or Grogu is, because he certainly acts like a baby and he communicates like a baby, but he's also 50 years old and he was trained at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant for a bit. So I don't know if, how much of the Force does he know? Does he know that this thing isn't looked on as a good thing to do in the Jedi ways, force choking people? Or does he just he didn't get to that lesson yet and he's just trying to protect himself?
Well, he was there when Anakin, sliced down the younglings. So he's seen. Well, we don't know how much he's seen, but we know he was there when that took place.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say because he's still a baby. Like, how much responsibility do we assign a baby? It could just be a natural action. But your point still stands. We don't know who's going to pick up this kid. What Force? This kid is going to cross paths with some sort of other Force user besides Ahsoka Tano going forward. And
I think that's awesome. This is me going Star Wars lore, fan fiction, going there. So
users are out there right now. You mentioned the Inquisitors, but I don't think there's any Inquisitors post Return.
I don't think there's many, but I mean, I don't think it's a stretch. I think there's another planet like a Dathomir out there.
Yeah,
that knows how to harness the dark side and use the dark side. If all of a sudden we had, say, a Master and then a Grogu on the dark side, you would then have the conflict of Ahsoka coming in periodically.
Right.
And that would be able to have her own show was she's searching down Thrawn and Ezra.
Yeah.
But she'd be able to pop back in periodically for some type of conflict that would, entail her need.
Yeah.
This is straight. I'm way down the rabbit hole here.
It's all speculation at this point. I don't know what we're going to see or what we live in a world right now where we got 2 episodes left of a show that's been firing on all cylinders, that is just shoving plot at us. And I don't know, we could see a de-aged Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. We could see Grand Admiral Thrawn. We could see Ahsoka back. Or we could see none of those things. I don't know what the hell's going to happen in the next
Yeah, no.
But it's fun.
We have a whole army of Dark Troopers. We only seen 4 of them activated.
Yeah.
We have, Grogu is back in Gideon's care, and he's sending a message to Dr. Pershing saying, we have our donor back. What is their end goal? What are they trying to do with, his blood? What are they trying to make people force sensitive by giving them, the midichlorians out of his blood? I mean, right. that's a curse word in Star Wars now, but
is it directly tied to the Snoke project? Is it directly tied to cloning Palpatine? Is it something else entirely? Like, we have
on his ship. Do we have one of those Palpatine bots?
Right. Yeah.
Are one of them present on the ship? We don't. We know once everything took place, there was a lot of those sent out amongst all of the Empire's ships. So that could be driving what's going on, and that could tap into the the Palpatine clone issue.
Is this initiative by what Boba Fett calls in this episode the Empire, even though the Empire is kind of dead? Is this initiative like the spark that starts the First Order, or at least one of the sparks? Is it tied to the First Order at all? Maybe not. Is it tied to maybe only the Final Order, which we learned about in The Rise of Skywalker? Like, things are very nebulous right now, which is good because it could play out a ton of different ways, and we'll get a lot of clarification on some events. That's a lot of question marks right now in between Episode 6 of Return of the Jedi and Episode 7 of The Force Awakens. There's a 30-year span there where a lot happened that we don't know, and we're filling in gaps.
Yeah, it gives people like me plenty to talk about.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe there's a huge span of time in the middle of this 30 years where Grand Admiral Thrawn was the big bad of the galaxy, and Leia and the New Republic were having to face off against him, because the First Order, they don't show their ugly heads until right up when the Force Awakens starts. So I don't know. We're in the Wild West here.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely been fun.
Yeah.
What do you say we wrap this up here? So we were talking about Grogu on the ship. We did not talk about, Gideon showing Grogu the Darksaber.
Yeah.
And saying, you've seen one of these before, haven't you?
Right.
And he kind of reaches towards it. And he jokingly says, no, you may poke your eye out with it.
Basically, you're not ready for this, kid.
Yeah. And it almost feels like he's taunting him or wants him to be on his side to kind of do his bidding.
Well, it's a power play. Like, he has all the power in the room right now, and he knows it. And
and he knew he can let Grogu beat the snot out of these troopers, and then he's basically going to pass out.
Yeah, he's like feeling a little sleepy,
and he just kind of falls over. And then they cuff him for good measure, which I guess you kind of have to. If all his powers are here,
right? Little handcuffs.
The last guy we've seen have power in his hands, they got cut off.
Oh,
in a whole other show.
Yeah.
I digress.
That's it for an incredible episode of The Mandalorian. The tragedy, like I said, it was called The Tragedy, but one heck of a show, not a tragedy in itself. The episode.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, this was an episode I really enjoyed. I know I got a message first thing in the morning because we try not to talk about the show at all until we meet like at 10 o'clock for coming on here guys at 10:30.
Yeah.
So we have like an actual reaction between the two of us. But one of our guys, Jimmy, kind of starts putting out there, he's devastated. He didn't like the episode.
I know, it's tough. It's tough.
But I mean, that's a good spot there, guys. Like I said, we do this every week, 10:30, Friday nights. We break down every episode of the Mandalorian here. We have 2 more nights, 2 more weeks of doing this before Mando and Grogu leave us for a year. That's going to be a very sad evening.
Rough.
But if you guys enjoy it, like I said before, please click that like button, the subscribe button, that bell over on YouTube. And I guess this is a good spot for us to go ahead and say we will be seeing you guys next week.
See ya.